TJ the Wheel Joe coming at you live. It is Tuesday, February the 24th, 9:30 a.m. Central Time, Texas time. And we're going to do a little live Q&A and we're going to feature a couple of positions. So this will be a little bit different than your normal portfolio updates, if you will. So anyway, hope you guys are doing well. And I want to know in general in the comments, how are you dealing with the drawdown? Like, how's your mental? Because, man, I just feel like the sentiment on X is absolutely in the toilet. I just feel like it is absolutely in the toilet. I'm going to check on X real quick to see if we're even on there because they're saying that they're having difficulties. They're having difficulties with sharing the feed on X. So I'm going to go over to X and see if we can find it. Let's go over to X and see if we can find it. So we'll go over here and we'll click on home. And the computer is so slow today. Let's see. Yep, I don't see it. Don't see it on there. So let's see if we can get it posted on the X feed as well. I don't see it on there at the moment. So that's going to be a challenge. So we'll go over to YouTube. We'll walk through this thing here together, and we will go to this guy, YouTube Studio. And let's see if we can find our live, and then we'll share it on X. Oh, gosh, here we go. Bear with me because it's going to ask me for some personal information, I think. So let me see next. Oh, gosh. Okay, try another way. It's not even letting me do it, so that sucks. Okay, well, I guess we won't be on X. Shoot. So there's that. Anyway, how are you guys doing? What's going on? Just us. Easy F. What's going on, Angel? What's going on, Andres? What's going on, Manish? How are you guys doing? Hey, let me know how you guys' mental state is. It looks like we are on X. I don't know. I couldn't see it. But it says that people are watching on X. I couldn't find it. So who knows? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It is what it is. We'll just keep the party going. Don't know how to do those little surveys and stuff on the channel. So it is what it is. But guys, y'all could like not text me during the live. That would be great. That way I can focus on this and we can make it happen for us today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my X and we're going to kind of like do a sentiment check, if you will. I posted something kind of funny on there today, and then we're going to do a live Q&A. Like we're going to do live Q&A. So if you guys have any questions in the chat, put them on there. And I'm also going to reach out to Option and anybody who wants to join for that matter. We can just kind of shoot the breeze a little bit. So we're going to go here. We're going to go copy. Going to put it on there. If you guys have a question that you would like to ask, click the link. If you want to come on the channel, that would be awesome. If not, just ask it over there and I'll do my best to answer along the way. So I appreciate some of you guys tuning in. I know that Amit is on and he's like CNBC. He's always on. So I don't expect a real big turnout this morning, and that's okay. So let's see if we can find the X feed. So let's see if we can find the X feed. So the first thing I want to do is we're going to feature this position right here. That's one. But before I do that, I'm going to do the 1 minute with God. So it's February the 24th. It is on distress. Why? When I'm in trouble, how do I talk to God and know that He will hear me? You don't need special words to talk to God. You can simply talk to God as you would to a trusted friend. God understands your emotions, He made them. So don't worry about getting too emotional with God. Tell Him your fears and worries and claim His promise to rescue you from the temptation and danger to stay with you no matter what comes. God's promise or response: in my distress, I cried out to the Lord. Yes, I prayed to my God for help. He heard me from his sanctuary. My cry reached his ears. Psalms 18:6. The Lord hears his people when they call to him for help. He rescues them from all their troubles. Psalms 34:17. God's promise: when they call on me, I will answer. I will be with them in trouble. I will rescue them and honor them. Psalms, I believe that's 91:15. That's the 1 minute with God. So I want to talk about this Palantir position right here. So essentially, we rolled the naked calls on Palantir from 180 to 190. These were expiring in like 20 some days or something like this. And I did this across all of the accounts. And we went from the 23, hey, baby. We went from the 23-day cycle, give or take, to the 80-day cycle. So let's talk about the mindset as to why we would do that, because you're in a winning trade. What happened, baby? Oh, they're both over. Well, Duke's over here. I don't know where Gavin is. So why do you roll a winning trade? That's what I want you guys to learn from this particular scenario here. And then I put on here, bulls, you're more than welcome to back to the party. That's supposed to be party. I don't know if I'll be able to edit that or not. Because as I have the 75 short puts in the distance that are getting obliterated on paper. So if you go through here and you see what's going on, you're going to see, there we go. You're going, let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger to make it just a little bit easier on the eyes. Hopefully you guys can see that. And I'm going to try to find this because I don't have it on the TV over there in the background. So let me see if I can find it over here on YouTube to make sure I'm showing you all the right stuff. And I am. Fantastic. So I don't know if it'll make me get it. No, it just won't let me do it any bigger. That sucks. So we have a crap load of naked calls at 190 for the 80-day cycle, and we've got another 2,000 puts in the distance at 75. So what does that mean? The naked calls is an agreement, an obligation to sell shares, to deliver shares at $190. So if Palantir is trading above $190, we are contractually obligated to deliver those shares at $190 if you don't do anything about the position. In other words, you don't manage it, you don't just close it or roll it. So if the contract stays unattended and it stays in, it stays in effect for the next 80 days, Palantir, it's an absolute certainty that it's either going to be right at 190, it's going to be below 190, or it's going to be above 190. Like, that's the math, right? That the math will math. Like that's a mathematical certainty. It's either going to be right at 190, or it's going to be slightly below, or way below, or it's going to be slightly above, or even way above. Like that, there's no other way that it could go. And then in the distance, the 478-day cycle, June the 17th of 2027, we have an obligation to buy a crap load of shares of Palantir at $75. So we're getting crushed on paper. Why? Because when we sold those puts, Palantir was trading probably at 170, 180. and now it's trading at 130-ish, right? 128.97 is what it says over here. If you look at the cursor, trying to make the cursor a little bigger for you guys. So on paper, that part doesn't look good. So I didn't just take it on the chin. I was like, okay, what can I do? What can I do that's a little bit more proactive to try to bring some money through the door to ring the cash register? Because what if Palantir is going to tank all the way to 75, which I feel is extremely unlikely, extremely unlikely, especially if these guys are going to put up a 60, almost 70% CAGR for the entire year, right? Compounded annual growth rate. So that is my idea. It's like, they paid us a lot of money. You can see it right there in green for agreeing to buy these shares at 75, way down the road. But I was like, well, if it's going to continue to put pressure on us on paper, and it hurts the P&L and all that stuff, and your net liquidation value, all that stuff, how do you know it hurts? Because if we wanted to get out of this position today, we're losing a shitload of money, right? That P&L open, you lose that money. It'll be gone forever if you chickened out of the position right now. So I'm like, well, why don't I ring the cash register and bring some money through the door? Because I'm like, well, you can't be putting pressure on the $75 puts while simultaneously putting pressure on the now $190 calls. So I'm like, and that's a crap load of premiums that will offset the amount that we were down on paper. And then now I'm like, I mean, you got to keep in mind, whenever I sold these, I'm excited about the idea that we could acquire Palantir at $75. And whenever you sell a leap like this, I call it a backstop trade, you got to pick an underlying that you believe in, and you got to pick a price that you're legit interested, excited to take ownership, and you have the money to do so. So all of those boxes are checked in this particular position. So I don't really care how it goes on the 75s. It's either going to be below 75, 478 days from now, which I think would be a very reasonable valuation for Palantir. I think that valuation talk would go out the window, because if you couple the market cap that Palantir would have at $75 on top of their compounded annual growth rate and their margins and everything, a very sticky business model, Palantir would be very attractive at $75 in comparison to where it was at 207 and even where it is now. It would be extremely compelling, because Palantir is a unicorn. It's an anomaly, in my opinion. So I'm like, I want to just figure out how to make money off of Palantir. But now that you're picking strike prices to where the valuation doesn't scare you, you kind of feel like you're in the driver's seat, if you will, if you're not bluffing. And we're not bluffing here. Now, that being said, things change. The CAGR slows down, the margins compress, they lose some key contracts, something like that. Well, then obviously we reserve our right, to change our mind. And then, 400 days rolls by, Palantir's trading at like 80 or 90, really putting pressure on that $75 strike. We could potentially add another year or two to the contract and then go from like 75 to 65, maybe even 55 or 50. And then it becomes very, 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 very compelling to take ownership of the shares. Because keep in mind, I'm of the mindset that I only want to own shares as a last resort. I mean, owning the shares of BM&R has taught me that I don't really like owning shares anymore. The drawdowns are extremely severe, and it's harder to wiggle your way out of it, because ultimately you need the shares to rebound and to perform. Whenever you're dealing with the strangle and it goes south, kind of like here with Palantir, we sold the put and it's gone south, I can just start selling the other side and ring the cash register that way to eventually manufacture the win. You keep the goalposts wide enough, you manage your bankroll, you manage your expectations, you manage your mindset, your temperament, all of those things. You could eventually manufacture the win, because I don't have to be right now. eventually I do have to be right in order to realize a pretty substantial profit here. So you got to be willing to stay in the game long enough, is what I'm saying. And I'm willing to do so. Like, I am willing to be in this trade for the next 3 to 5 years to manufacture the win. Because what else am I going to do? Palantir is one of my favorite companies. That's the way that I look at it. That is always my mindset. So that is one of the positions that is the featured position of the day. So now another position that I wanted to feature was, well, first I wanted to talk about this because tell me if you don't think this is pretty accurate. This is X in a nutshell when it comes to investing. SoFi at 32, shout out to Stock Goat. Buy now or cry later, right? We can go to his page and I guarantee you he says something to that effect. SoFi at 18, crickets. I sold puts at 15. The comments that you'll hear in the chat and stuff, because I was talking on Roy's channel, oh, it's going to 9, idiot, that kind of thing. That's the general sentiment right now. It's absolutely in the toilet. Hims at 50, it'll short squeeze to 100. I wouldn't sell covered calls unless you hate money. Why would you put a ceiling on your capital appreciation? All this crap about Hims going to 100 and squeezing, and oh my God, nothing's going faster than Hims. It's amazing, Viagra for everybody, GLP-1 for everybody, but Hims at 14. And then if I were to post something like thinking about starting a position and playing for a rebound, what an idiot. I ain't touching that with a 10-foot pole. Palantir at 200, it's going to $1 trillion market cap. It will grow into valuation eventually. Buy now in Carp we trust. That whole thing. Valuations don't matter. P ratios, PEG ratios, PS, that is irrelevant when it comes to Palantir. Palantir marches to the beat of its own drum, right? That's all the stuff that we heard about on X about Palantir when Palantir was approaching 200 or above 200, because I think it went to like 207 intraday, probably like 220. Palantir at 130. Let's engage in a debate. Let's engage in a debate with Michael Burry because he's stupid and he doesn't get Palantir. Yeah, that just about sums it up. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. That's what's going on. That's what's going on in the markets in a nutshell, I feel. Like Quanda, I'll just follow that one. Try to follow a couple of accounts daily, just just cause. So anyway, did this with Roy yesterday. We had a pretty good turnout over there, a good conversation. Roy is just an absolute angel, absolute godsend. He takes time out of his life to educate me on some of these companies because he's just really, really good at understanding these companies. He's just really, really good at understanding these companies and what's going on with them. And then I'm pretty good at trying to figure out how to make money with the company. So I feel like, make a pretty good team. This is something that Dr. James Schultz, y'all might want to check that out, is shorts puts is his go-to strategy. And he kind of does a thread on that one. So I reshared it. And then I said, very well said. Selling puts is my go-to move as well. I prefer to sell leaps puts, though, so that I don't have to manage the trade very often and I can enjoy this beautiful thing called life. And then Timothy Sweeney did a song on SoFi that's actually extremely, extremely catchy. And then I made a joke about Anthropic. But I'm trying to find the post that I did on... Here we go. So this is the new position on SoFi. So we sold some puts on SoFi. That's our premium haul right there in the green. And we did it 662 days out because SoFi was at $32 not so long ago. I was on top of the world. The 401ks at all-time highs. The 100 and some shares that I have on the SoFi platform were at all-time highs. Things were just awesome. Absolutely awesome. And then here we are. They have their best quarter ever, 1 million members, $1 billion in revenue, raising guidance, expectations across the board. I feel like they kind of dealt with the dilution. Not really. That was like the only black eye, if you could find something. And I feel like their guidance race was solid, but it wasn't like out of the world. It was just something that, like, okay, I know you set the bar kind of high, but I still feel like you're going to jump over it. It was that kind of thing. But it was real hard to find something wrong with those earnings. And then the market, has had some pullback in some sectors like the software as a service, fintech. Those sectors have been obliterated here recently. SoFi was no exception. So essentially, it got crushed, right? It got crushed. It's down like over 30% in the last month or something like that. So I was like, that's interesting. I'd be willing to buy 250,000 shares of SoFi at $15, especially if you're paying us, $370, $380 a contract, or $3.70, $3.80 a share for doing so. Because that puts our break even at like 11.20, 11.30. I was like, I like our odds to be able to manufacture the win there, to be able to make money if we have a long-term outlook on SoFi. So I was like 662 days out. A lot of life can happen. So again, if you're going to sell a put like this and you're like, oh, this is a no-brainer, I want SoFi at 15, just understand that a lot of life is going to be lived during this time. So you have to believe in the company. You have to believe in their leadership. You got to study your M's, the moat, the management, the money, the market sentiment, the methodology on how you're going to go about trying to make money with this particular stock, how you're going to feel about owning these shares if something unforeseen were to happen. That's why the tasty trade way, the sweet spot is what? 30 to 45 days out. Why? Because you eliminate those types of unforeseen events, if you will, right? It's real hard to see what's over the horizon, beyond the horizon, if you will. So backstop trades are my cheat code. They're my go-to move, but they don't come without some risk. In this case, there's key man risk, there's acquisition and mergers, there's all kinds of stuff that's thrown into the pot. So you have to consider all of the gimmies and gotchas and not just be premium chasing and premium drunk and be like, oh, all things equal, SoFi, the company clicking on all cylinders, give me those shares. Don't be blinded by that. So what am I looking to do with this particular position? I'm going to turn it a lot into the Palantir position. I'm going to look to sell some shorter dated naked calls along the way to ring the cash register. That way these $15 puts get challenged. I'm going to reap the benefits of those naked calls to pad the bottom line, if you will, to lower the adjusted cost basis. Because the idea is I would like to lower the adjusted cost basis to 10. That way, at that point, I'm like, even if Anthony Noto took another job, if something happened, recession, whatever the case may be, rate hikes, I think that I could still manufacture the win. I think that I could still be okay. But I'm also looking to add another 2,500 contracts on weakness. So if I dips to that $16 level, I'm going to look to add another 2,500 contracts. Not sure that I'll do them at 15. I might do them at 14, 13, or 12 at that point. But I would just feel like all of the deals in the market, that would be one of the most compelling ones because it's the one that I understand the best. It's the one that I believe in the most because I understand it the most. So that is the position that I put on yesterday. Those are the two featured positions of the day. Let's check in on our next, see what people are commenting. A lot of these guys have all the answers on here. So that is what it is. So that's about it. He's not wrong. It's been dreadful. Manish sent that to me as the Bitcoin bull on life support. You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy. So anyway, so that's what's going on. That's what's going on with the portfolios in a nutshell. I'm looking in the background. We're having a good solid day, guys. We're having a good solid day. BM&R's up, Amazon's up, Palantir's down, PayPal's down, Strategy's down, SoFi's up. The portfolios as a whole are all green. So that part's good. Things are going okay. So now let me check in with you guys and we'll go from there. So did this one. How are you guys doing? Third Love, what's going on in Midwest? Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the 38 people that have tuned in. I know that now we got 62 people on X, 41 people on YouTube. I appreciate you guys. What's going on, Mr. International, Jonathan Young? Looking to get in the WhatsApp group. Thanks, TJ. Right on. Hey, TJ, finally puts printing. Right on. Mr. International, mental state is very good since I don't use margin, and now I stay log out until I see green PNL. That's awesome. Doing pretty well. Haven't enjoyed drawdown, but believe my companies and believe in my companies and keeping things simple. There's the StreamYard link in case if anybody wants to join. Are you still in BMU? No, I cleaned up the portfolio about 3 weeks ago, and I got out of BMU. I had to raise cash because we were about to be on a margin call maintenance, and I didn't have enough deposits going through the account to offset that at the time. So I had to sell BMU at a loss. I got out of the SoFi position at the time, and I sold the shares of Enphase to raise the cash. And we go from there. I avoid watching a minute during times like these. Just hedging against positions, bringing in some premiums to cushion everything. Yeah, it's exactly what I'm doing. Just making sure that I'm always building up the cash pile, guys. Like, I have to sell puts, sell calls, through it all, because I have to make sure that we have money to buy the inevitable dip, because at some point there's a correction that's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. By rolling the winning trade, you're locking in profits. Sure, of course, we're locking in profits. But let's talk about that. Why would I roll that Palantir trade? Is because I'm extremely bearish on Palantir short term. Extremely bearish on Palantir short term. That's why I'm selling so many naked calls against it. But at the same time, Palantir is going to have earnings again. And the last earnings were the best the company had ever put up. Wasn't rewarded by the market, though. But at some point, it's going to be rewarded if they keep pumping out those types of earnings, because they were nothing short of spectacular. Nothing short of spectacular. So I'm like, okay, well, let me raise it from 180 to 190, bring in another $290,000, $292,000 in premiums, knowing damn well that this is a long-term play for me. I can always roll out again and go from 190 to 200, 200 to 210, 220, eventually get it out to 250 and put it at a place where Palantir just can't get to. It just can't get to mathematically. It just can't get there because it's already too stretched. It's already too stretched. And let's just say for whatever reasons it did get there. I was wrong. Highly doubt it. But let's just say that I was wrong. Well, I could always increase the strikes from 75 to 100 on the puts and bring in a shitload of premiums. A shitload of premiums. So I'm like, mathematically, as long as I manage my bankroll, my expectations, my temperament, my mindset, it's going to be very, very difficult to lose money on that trade. Because even if it tanks to 50, I'm going to have made so much money on naked calls along the way. I'll already have an adjusted cost base well below 50. And let's not act like they didn't pay his premiums to sell the 75s. Couple of rolls, roll it down to 65, 55, 50. I don't care if it's trading at 35 or 40. We can manufacture the win mathematically on Palantir. And if it goes up to 200, easy to manage the naked calls. And then I'll decide how risky I want to get with the short puts along the way and be like, okay, got a shitload of premiums for selling to 75s. How much more will they sell me from rolling it from 75 to 100? 120, 130, 140, 150. And I'll play that game over and over. And I'm going to ring the cash register. I literally see a $5 million bill there with Palantir from now until that expiration date. I just got to stay with it. I got to stay with it. Where else are we at? Midwest. Here again, getting my hamburger stand ready. Right on. Hey, my man TJ, for BM&R have leaps for January 2027 that I'm underwater on. I've been averaging down while the price is lower. Still have BM&R leaps yourself? No, I lost $1 million on BM&R leaps. Mine were way out of the money. I think at 75 bucks. They expire. I took my medicine. I used that money to buy BM&U. Lost money there too, so I compounded my losses. And then I went with what doesn't expire. What doesn't expire shares. So now I have 120,000 shares of BM&R, and I am looking to add, once I have some winning naked calls on the books that pads our cash balance legitimately, lowers our buying power usage, then I am going to look to add about 500 leaps on BM&R. I would definitely look to do that, but I'm going to give it plenty of time. I'm going to give it a couple of years, and I'm probably going to be in that $40 to $50 price range. So eventually, that's where we're going with it. Are you not concerned by the fact that you are taking in another earnings cycle? I'm going to be in this trade for 3 to 5 years, Will. I'm going to take on several earnings. It's no different than owning shares. That's one thing that I want to really help to educate the community on. I think that earnings cycles are overblown because what do you do when you own the shares? Do you sell before every earnings? No. What do you do in your 401k when the Fed's going to talk? Do you sell everything? No. So this is a campaign. Everything's done around a thesis. Everything is done around a thesis. Long term, I believe that Palantir is going up and to the right. How up and to the right? $1 trillion market cap, maybe more. But in the short term, I think it's very, very likely that it's going to go touch 100, maybe lower. In the intermediate term, I think it's right where it's at. Right where it's at. I think 120 to 160. That's where I really believe Palantir is going to play for the next 6 months. Long term, it's a unicorn. It's an anomaly. It's going to go up and to the right, $1 trillion market cap, maybe more. Short term, I think it could see 100. Is it going to go to 75? I don't know, man. Depends on the macros. Very unlikely. So I feel like these $75 puts, they don't feel like easy money right now, but they're going to end up being easy money. I could see me adding to those puts, but it's all about the notional, right? Like the account would have to grow before I could add to those because I can't like overcommit. I can't just have a bunch of these massive leap positions everywhere because at some point you might have to make good. At some point you might have to make good. So you don't want to over leverage yourself on a bunch of these sure bets because everything's sure until it's not. Everything's easy until it's not, right? Everything's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to make money over here and right away. And then it ends up being a 3 to 5 year play, right? Because anytime I sell these strangles, I think it's just going to work out right here, right now. Sometimes, it's going to take me 3 to 5 years to battle with these goalposts and get them just right. And then you're going to have some share price cooperation in order to realize the W. Would you eventually roll the backstops up or close out a profit and the underlying keeps climbing up? Absolutely. Absolutely, because there's only so high that I'm willing to go on the puts. There's only so high that I'm willing to go on the puts. Now, mind you, I might roll them up to an area where I'm not really interested in taking ownership of the shares if I've kind of gotten caught with my hand in the cookie jar on the naked calls for the time being. So I'll use those puts to offset. So that's just a delta balancing act. But at that point, that's all I'm doing is I'm balancing deltas. I'm managing the position. But the backstop put trade that's already been won. Now I'm using it as leverage to make sure that I don't blow up the account, because whenever you sell naked calls, you do have an unlimited risk to the upside. Totally true about the sheep mentality. So that's what's going on in a nutshell. Let's go look over here real quickly. We're printing a little bit today. Let me see if it shows up here. I'm waiting on it. Yeah, it's printing. We're doing okay today. Nothing to write home about, but it's better than a poke in the eye. So BM&R is printing. We got the 120 right there. We've got an agreement to sell 50,000 of those shares at $30. Amazon, just absolutely picture perfect. The naked calls are printing and the puts are rebounding. So this Amazon trade, I feel like, is just going to do nothing but print money. There's the Palantir put. You can see that we're down a crap load, but I do feel like these naked calls are going to print. PayPal recovered some yesterday. We recovered quite a bit on the puts, but then we went underwater on the naked call, so we had to move those over, and we're just managing. I think that PayPal is going to be A-okay. We'll see if they deliver some news, because then at that point I'll have to reassess, right? And then I've got a big put position here on MSTR, an agreement to buy $5 million worth of MSTR right there. We've got an agreement to sell a shitload of shares at 200, 80 days out. So it can be at both places, right? It can be below 100 and above 200. So we got to make money there somehow, some way. I prefer that it stayed right where it's at, because then we make money both places. 135, 140 is a little bit more comfortable. And then SoFi, this is what we just put on yesterday. So we're pretty flat. So there's no reason to add to it right now, guys. There's just no reason to add to it right now. So that's all of it in a nutshell, man. So I just wanted to check in with you guys. Wanted to see how your mental game was holding up. The market isn't always easy, guys. So you just have to have a long-term mindset, and don't do things today that you'll regret tomorrow. Don't do things today that could potentially blow up your account. Don't trade angry. Don't be like, I'm going to get my get back. In poker, we call it going on tilt. Don't go on tilt. Like, just trade what's in front of you. Put the best trade that you can on with the information that you have, and let the chips fall where they may, and make your adjustments when it's necessary, not when you feel like making them. Make the adjustments when it's necessary. This is a game of adjustments. It's a game of adjustments. You got to adjust. You got to manage your expectations. You got to manage your portfolio, your bankroll, your mindset, your temperament. Manage your positioning in the market, because that is what you control. We don't control pricing, but we do control our positioning in the market. Stephen, hey TJ, options newbie here. How do you like coverage strangles? My absolute favorite strategy, because you already own the shares. You have a real solid thesis on the shares, and you don't have the unlimited risk to the upside, because you're running cover calls and not naked calls. I think that's just the best all-around beginner-friendly strategy, because you're experiencing all the aspects. You own the shares, so you experience what that's like. It's a real good way to find who you are in the market. You're selling puts, so you're experiencing what that's like. You're selling calls, you're experiencing what that's like. Stock goes down, you experience drawdown, you experience what that's like. You're like, okay, it went down, but my cover call is printed. My cash secured puts, my short puts are getting hammered. My shares are getting hammered. It goes up, my short puts are printing. My shares are printing, but only to the point of the cover call. So you're experiencing a lot of aspects of the game. So I think that that's where most people should play for the first couple of years, is coverage strangles. Once you really understand how to manage your Greeks, essentially, your emotions, your bankroll, your buying power utilization, then maybe you can graduate, especially if you have over $175,000 portfolio. I say really over $250,000. That way you give yourself a cushion. then maybe you can manage to naked strangles because it's more capital efficient. But then you got to keep track of your notional value and all that stuff as well. So yeah, I think you're endeavoring on the right path, in my opinion. Not financial advice like the banner says on the bottom. That would be in my estimation. I think that is the best all around beginner friendly strategy, and it is an absolute go to move of mine. I got to run, man. I appreciate each and every one of you guys checking in. Much better turnout today than yesterday. Nobody showed up yesterday. That was for members only. This is a public stream. Every once in a while, I'm going to do these, but it's just going to be like this, and I'm just going to feature a couple of the positions and go from there. But I'm not going to go through the weeds on the portfolios because you guys just ask way too many questions, and it's hard for me to get through the entire regularly scheduled program. For the members only, I will be doing a portfolio recap for us today, right around the time that the market closes. I know that we got a lot of stuff going on. We got Nvidia earnings. We've got, I believe, Meta as well. I'm not sure of Meta. I don't know. I know Nvidia for sure. And we've got the State of the Union tonight. So there's a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I got to get rocking and rolling. TJ the Will Deal signing off. As always, may your skies stay blue, stock screen. Peace out. God bless you guys. I think Rousey gets her in an arm bar. I think Rousey gets her in an arm bar. But Gina Carano's a lot prettier. Peace out.